Hello and welcome back to the Evolution of Medicine podcast. And I am really excited today to not only welcome some very good friends of the Evolution of Medicine, but also to try something technologically that we've never done before. So I'm here, James, in Venice Beach, California, and coming from the Chi Center in New Mexico. We have my partner at the Evolution of Medicine, Gabe Hoffman, and Mingtong Gu, a Qigong Master, and we're going to have a conversation about it. Welcome, guys. I'm glad that the tech seems to be working super strong so far. Gabe, maybe I can start with you just to start off the interview here. So, technology, ironically, sort of plays an important role in sort of how you got connected to Qigong and to Mingtong. Maybe we could just start there.
Absolutely, yeah. So let me give everyone a story of how I connected with Mingtong here. So one night, I was basically on YouTube looking for always into health as we are in our community, and looking for videos, and there was one Qigong Master who had really tight, high-quality videos, so that was the one I watched. I mean, you guys, those in our audience, know what we're always teaching and talking about, so I had never come across a tech-empowered Qigong Master, but I've met him. He's right here. So I watched the video, and then I got connected. He had an online course. He also had an autoresponder set up, and I got the emails, and so I signed up for the online course, and for a year, I've been practicing Qigong. I was practicing for a year in my room by myself, just based on what they had set up, what Mingtong had set up educationally wise. And then we connected later, and I saw what him and the Chi Center and what they were all about, and the amount of tech and how much overlap there was, and how he was approaching building and growing his Qigong community, and how similar it was to how we were building the EvoMed community. So I reached out like, hey, let's talk. And also I became passionately involved in how powerful this was. But just to kind of start off, I mean, Mingtong was doing the things that we were teaching people, and I just felt such a resonance with that. And then of course the Qigong itself was so powerful, and that's one piece. And then later we'll get into the other pieces to why I felt like it's so relevant for our community, not just on the tech end, but also on the medicine end. But then let me just turn over to Mingtong.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Gabe, for this opportunity, sitting together, share with each other, share this amazing, with this amazing EvoMed community. So again, through the technology, how amazing we can connecting with each other, share deeply in the personal level as well, professional levels. So yeah, my side of the story is really was, once we made a personal connection, I was really touched by what EvoMed is doing in the functional medicine world, even beyond. It's really about bridging, the community among the patients, and also, the doctors and the functional medicine specialists, and providing the technology, the platform, so we can really expanding not only the new information, but the new education, the new empowerment, new healing modality, to whoever is ready to take on. So there's much more greater potential than the old paradigm we are in. So I'm so excited this template is available already, so able to share now, especially share with you directly.
Absolutely, yeah, it's really exciting. And one of the themes in the evolution of medicine has been community. And one of the first things that Gabe told me about with you and what you were doing was this sort of incredible story of the Qigong hospital in China. And maybe we could use that as a context to help everyone who doesn't understand what Qigong is right now to know what it is, and also how it's been used traditionally in medical systems of the past and the current.
Yes. So again, make the long story short, is my teacher, Dr. Pan, is a medicine doctor, trained officially and formally in Western medicine, but also trained in the Chinese traditional medicine, and learned Qigong as an art, as a practice, as deep energetic sciences from childhood. So he started to experiment in using the Qigong more gradually, and realizing the incredible benefit, especially for chronic condition, incurable condition, getting the incredible result. And he took one step further beyond just history. The history of Chinese, Qigong is more for like esoteric, and also the healing is available more in the martial art world. But it's kind of, restricted. It's not an open knowledge, so to speak. As a doctor, he wants to open this to, experimenting with his patient and realizing the true power, this is a base for longevity. So longevity is based on health, healing is same thing. So without health and healing, there's no longevity. So the Qigong is really longevity practice. So quickly he realizing more power by working people together in group. And that's what we're doing, in the space here. Actually, we're in the middle of retreat, 4 weeks long retreat. We're in the middle of the second, week, and just observing the incredible change among the people when we come in together, accessing the amazing power. It's really kind of same power as I experienced in China in the Medicine Qigong Hospital. So what my teacher, Dr. Pan, did is really pioneers this kind of practice as medicine to a large population. And at the time, there were 7,000 people in the Medicine Qigong Hospital when I was there in one summer. And continuously staying in the center at least minimally for 28 days one cycle. And so what he did is really compare the result. As a medicine doctor, he wants to see the evidence. He wants to see the data. So he collecting the data by have a measurement, the diagnosis beforehand, before the program, then afterward the program. So the result is extraordinary. Basically, 95% you can see measurable improvement. And then specific illness, certain complete cure rate with the different statistics. So then what happened is really beyond just, whatever people have done in the past, accessing the energy of the mind, body, heart inside of us. So we can talk about practice, share the insight later on. So the bottom line is really about accessing the capacity of mind, body, heart beyond something else, beyond someone else. This internal, inner medicine. So I think of this as a mind-body medicine or energy medicine, So that is the brief history. Yeah.
So, James, and let me just go, because this story is really what, it's right now I'm on retreat with Mingtong. This is the second retreat I've been to in 2.5 months. And just to go back over some of this story, basically Dr. Pang and what I learned was when they say medicineless Qigong hospital, they literally had a center in China that functioned for 20 years. And when they say medicineless, they don't mean just no pharmaceuticals. They mean there was no acupuncture, there was no herbs, there was no supplementation. This was just Qigong. And over the course of 20 years, 250,000 people came through that hospital. And Dr. Pang had it set up where they would evaluate people before going into the hospital. They had to be evaluated before they could go through. Then a month later, they'd be reevaluated, and he kept statistical data to see what was improving, including different types of illnesses and ailments. I mean, in a lot of ways, they had a more structured tracking plan than we've had in the West with some of the integrated medicine we've been trying. So I was so blown away by this story. Like, it bears repeating. I still can't believe it, to tell you the truth. It's but one of the key pieces that they learned when I've read up on this hospital is that the bigger the community got, the higher the results. So actually, the more people were practicing together, and so it started smaller, and by the end, it's 7,000 people. But what Mingtong's saying is it's 7,000 people a day every single day of the year, all together, and then getting reevaluated. So anyway, that was just so touching and inspiring to me that I came on the retreat because well, I'll let Mingtong share, but the Qigong Hospital is not around anymore. And really where this still happens is when Mingtong does month-long retreats in New Mexico. And so that was where I really wanted to experience what this was. And I would also say Mingtong is very interesting to talk about what types of people are here, because the degree of severity of some of the illnesses is really fascinating.
Yeah. So yeah, like in this room, in this retreat, we have more than 50 people, and some staying 1 week, some staying for whole months long. It's really probably, I would say, more than 50 people have a severe diagnosis. That means they have tried everything else already before they show up in this retreat, and most time from the helpless place. Then another 30% is more people have more emotional issues and really even mental, psychological issues, and also coming from a place of burnout, so to speak, in life, stress. And then another one, probably another 25% is more from the people who are healers, healthcare professionals from different modality, including people in our professional training program. So the whole range of people coming together is also creating a magic. People from different perspective, different experience, different background, able to bring different facets, not only their knowledge, but their way of connecting their health, connecting their life, connecting with each other, and become a really powerful process. So for me, I understand deeply, not only from a direct experience in the Medicine Qigong Hospital, I know it works. It works with everyone, and as long as the person is willing to do the work, that's one of my job is getting the people to do the work. As a health practitioner, you all know how difficult it is getting people to do something for themselves. So when we doing in such a way, creating the amazing result, I contributing to the three powerful key. One is really this container of retreat, is really allow people consistently, but also most intensively doing the practice, push their boundary, get into, facing what's the deepest challenges is. We all know the deepest challenge is physical, emotional, mental blockages, limitations, So from there, we may choose the wrong food, choose, wrong relationship, choose even, whatever job even, choose, wrong is like stressful or unhealthy, not only choice, but a reaction to the world in general. So what we're here doing is really, Jim, is addressing the deeper cause of disease. That is the stress. And from that place, the contraction of energy is really affecting the mind, body, heart function. So the key is acknowledging the mind, body, heart, spirit as one energy system, and retraining them to awaken the greater capacity and the function. So I love the words functional medicine. You go straight to the function. You're just like really retraining, awakening the function, inside of you. Before the knowledge is like the function is there. Before you're not diagnosed with any disease, before you were depressed, before you had injury. So how to recover that function, reconnecting that, rediscovering that, reawakening that. And that is like the powerful bottom line goes straight addressing.
Absolutely, it's drawing some themes, I think, that we've seen all the way through the functional forum, the evolution of medicine. One is focusing on function, like a new paradigm that's based on building the function. That's why we've aligned very clearly with functional medicine that there's a process there. The second is the power of community and getting these people into a group to support each other, and that's been a big thing. But I guess one of the things I just wanted to mention is that when I speak to functional medicine doctors who have been doing it for a long time, typically what they do is at the beginning, they get really excited about the new supplements and labs and other things that they can do. But over time, you see them realizing that actually exactly what you're talking about here is the real work. It's really getting people to think differently about themselves, about their problems, understand their power to change those problems differently. So I'd love to just talk into that, because I feel like, I guess the question that I want to know is, for the average functional medicine doctor, why do you think this sort of experience or Qigong in general is a strong adjunct thing or modality to recommend to people who are reversing chronic disease, who are trying to reverse?
Beautiful. Gabe, you might want to speak to this.
Yeah, I guess this has sort of been very much speaks to my journey, right? A lot of people know my story. When I was younger, I dealt with Hodgkin's disease and cancer, and that's how I got into this whole field. And, one of the turning points of my life was beginning to work with supplements and nutrition, and I really had to be pretty sick before I thought, okay, let me do something proactive. And, from that day forward, I regained my health very strongly and ended up in this industry. And, was a practitioner for 10 years. And then James, obviously you and I have been, developing this community and spending a lot of time with practitioners. But the other thing I found was there were certain times where I'd work with people, or even with myself, like there were certain things that maybe wouldn't improve, and it didn't matter how much I took, and I spent so much time sort of caught up with jumping from diet and nutrition to foods all over the place, supplements. And one of the things you learn with Qigong is you could do everything you're doing and do Qigong. Do everything you're doing and do Qigong, and over time, you will need to do less of all of those things. And what I can tell you now is in the last year and a half, my diet has become so much more freed up. Went from like 15 supplements a day to like 1. And I feel better than I felt in a long time. And what's happened is I just ended up doing more Qigong and less of everything else. But to not just make it about Qigong, but one of the things we see in mind-body medicine is it's so much about our belief system and our mind and our story and how powerful that is. So Qigong has been a direct technology for me to take back control of some of my belief systems, because I did have and I continue to work with just the fact that supplements and nutrition I felt like saved my life, and it was very challenging to take back some of that power. They were very important for that period of time, and they still are, and they're needed, but I think all of the people in our community realize you don't necessarily want to be on these things for the rest of your life. It's good for a period of time, but ultimately for me, like I wanted to figure out what do I need to do to get enough confidence. And we've talked about the placebo and the nocebo, James. I know that's a big interest of yours and mine. So it really does relate. I don't know, Mingtong, but you could add to that.
Yeah. So my experience is, again, Qigong allow people expanding their options, and like as you said, empowering themselves, not only their mind, but also working with the body directly, working with the emotion directly. And from that place, the energy awakening, opening to the inherent nature of healing the health. And as a container, as a foundation, so to speak, in this process, any other medicine works better. Even conventional allopathic medicine start to work better, and even reducing the side effect. And then the supplement or food, whatever else you're working, including therapy, also works better. And so on one hand, is like from any health practitioner point of view, is very simply put, is if the client is engaging in their health, in their healing process, then whatever you give them, it works better, more effective. If they're not engaging, just depend on you, then judging it's working or not working, stressed about it, then it's like reducing its effectiveness actually. So that's how I look at it. On one hand, it's reducing the side effect of some of the medicine naturally has. On the other hand, it is enhancing the benefit of whatever medicine, supplement, including food. Then on the other hand, is addressing the deeper level of disease. The physical disease, emotional disease, even the mental disease, and then really empower people, to the place of true health, true empowerment. I think it's also, we in the Gabe and I, we're talking about how that relating to people in the professional field. It's like people come to you, want to have more health. If whatever way you show them to get in more health, they're going to come to you more often. Yeah. So it's like, some of us, providing whole range of options, but you have to empower them, continue in whatever way you can empower them. So that is one way, my job is empower people, take responsibility for their own mind, body, heart, health, functional.
Absolutely. And it seems like one thing I just wanted to draw out of that is, One thing that Jeff Bland talks about a lot is that the old medical system is like the diagnosis and the sort of top-down fear-based system. And what we're really talking about in functional medicine or Qigong otherwise is sort of like a grassroots, starting with the patient and moving upwards. And, I think one of the things that we've had is this sort of hangover where people have been trying to do, up and out prognosis medicine in a sort of a diagnose down and in mindset. And so what I can see from Gabe's journey here is that it started with him. He was looking, he found the mentorship, and it's his journey that's happening through rather than you doing stuff to him. Like in an acupuncturist office, it might be where it's the acupuncture that's changing things. And otherwise, and maybe you guys could just speak into that, because we're really interested at this moment in our development as we start to put our money where our mouth is as EvoMed and model for the community how to deliver this type of care at scale. Just some thoughts that you have about how to deliver up and out prognosis-based medicine to the masses.
Beautiful. I love the vision you just clearly shared. Yeah, the continuation of empowering the patients, but addressing the deep cause beyond the diagnosis, beyond the symptoms even. So that is really, what I'm so passionate about in Qigong, is addressing the deep cause. Often you're thinking, okay, for example, the symptom of Parkinson, diagnosis of Parkinson, if from conventional point of view, you're thinking, that is relating to dopamine, not enough dopamine, or dopamine not flowing well, which might be true. But the deeper question is, we don't ask in the conventional medical world, is what causing the deficiency of the dopamine before you just trying to fix the dopamine. So far, all the drug produced trying to fix the dopamine not only all have side effect, has a limited impact on the true functionality of the dopamine of this body, which is also not only biologically, chemically relating to the body, is emotionally related. So often we say not only the brain is relating to the dopamine, but your heart is also emitting dopamine. Your emotion directly is responsible to producing the dopamine. So on one hand, we know the dopamine is producing the happiness, but actually the happiness is equally true. The happiness is producing the dopamine. So if you can produce the happiness in your heart, then the dopamine comes, and then the brain becomes healthier. So we're kind of missing big part of the equation, always emphasizing the physical only, without realizing the physical is also the consequence of the subtle, the mental, the emotional, and everything else. So really have to complete in this equation.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and it's interesting to talk about Parkinson, and being here on retreat with Mingtong, you actually get to spend time with people who are dealing with, I guess I could ask you, Mingtong can speak to some of the types of ailments that they've worked with and that are consistently here, because you spend, and we're in a room together for 14 hours a day. When we're on retreat, this is not like a vacation retreat. This is like you're doing Qigong all day long, and you're doing it with people with all different levels of challenges. And it's incredible. I've never experienced anything like it. But Parkinson's, for example, one of the things that happens right away, people start feeling different emotionally first. And Mingtong, maybe you could speak to some of the recoveries you've been a part of, because we're not talking about like hypertension. In fact, one of the things Mingtong can share with you is that they found the more severe the illness, the better the outcomes.
And that is understandably the mind-body connection. When the mind is more dedicated, on like crisis, of this severe condition, the mind making more effort, then you can engage in the practice more deeply. That's why the result often is better than the minor condition. So it's easy to understand. It's no-brainer. But often, if we don't ask the question deeply, thinking that is kind of weird, strange, it's not weird, strange at all. It's basically mind, body, heart connection, the science of that. So speaking of, the disease, in general, basically, I welcome, everyone, because I know the Qigong can address the deep cause of any disease and addressing the deeper, cause of any challenges. You don't have to have a diagnosis in order to benefit from Qigong. It's so good for prevention, so good for accessing your power, your brain, power, your mind, accessing, your own capacity of being a loving, kind person, being a healer, being all other, whatever, the destiny, of life calling us for. So, but particularly, and I also say, I welcome particularly the severe cases, the cases, the conventional or even alternative medicine doctor doesn't want to deal with. Bring on, just come here. And because these people often even have a more, kind of determination, a more desire to make a difference. And it's incredible to see the change with all these conditions. So just name few, one is Parkinson, among most challenging condition, and other neurological condition, including MS, including even stroke, including even paralyzed. Sometimes people show up on wheelchair. And then second kind of category is more to do with the immune system, autoimmune system condition. Could be chronic pain, fatigue, and could be, silo issues, hormone issue in general. Then another condition is to do with more like, let's say, Lyme disease. This is, externally kind of infected in general. Yeah, there's no particular cure in the medical field already. So we have many cases, complete recovery of all these chronic incurable condition. Yeah. So what people come is, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think it's amazing. And also, one of the things that's been something that, has been, I guess, something that we've done badly as a community in the integrated medicine space is tracking the outcomes. And so, it's really exciting to see people taking that part of it seriously. We wish everyone would take that part of it seriously, because ultimately we need to prove that this stuff works. And there is the technology available right now to be able to do that. And it's great to, to know that this is an important part of what you're doing so that we can understand it. I guess, Gabe, one thing I want to ask you is, the kind of practitioners that listen to this podcast, you obviously had an interaction with Mingtong in a digital environment, and it sounds like it was free at the beginning. So, for people who are listening to this, maybe there's a Qigong person in their community who they can invite to the Functional Forum meetup, but maybe there isn't. And so, how did you find interacting with what's, quite a real way of understanding your body through a technology platform that was ultimately like scalable and video based?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible, and it made me really think about what we can offer as a community in terms of, just sharing what you can do to help people is so powerful. You help people you don't even know you're helping. Mingtong actually shared on retreat an email from a woman who he never met, who had tumors, and she had been following his videos without meeting him, and he got a letter from her that said, hey, 6 months ago I found your videos, and my doctor's been tracking my tumors, and I did your videos, and I just wanted to thank you. My tumors have shrunk, and then they disappeared. I mean,
yeah.
So anyway, that story
Totally gone.
Yeah, and so there are things like that happening. Mingtong gets people reaching out that he's never heard of, and just to say that we always are very big on how can you share your content? How can we share what we're doing? Now, specifically for me, I was able to get into the course and just follow along, and it was fine. And I believe, the videos themselves and the way I engaged with his online course was great. For me, it was perfect. I'm pretty motivated, and I'm someone who can commit to something, and as can our practitioners and many patients. So I thought it was fine, and at least there was a certain level of I was missing the community part, which I've been able to get here at the retreat. But I felt like in terms of the wisdom and how, because you could end up with any type of teacher. So I was very grateful to work with someone like Mingtong, who's a master and also is connected to this lineage in China. So all of these cases, when I saw all these stories of people who had recovered from these illnesses through this type of Qigong, I just was like, how can I not commit to this? This is like a no-brainer. And definitely the course was set up in a way where I could just follow along. And so meeting someone like Mingtong who's also using tech and no other tools, and I'm having that experience by myself, or this woman's having her experience, made me think very differently about the future of medicine.
I cannot agree more of that. It's like, you know, in general, through the technology, you know, the template we, you know, sharing together is like, first is you may, you know, just sharing the information is so important already, opening people's mind, their possibility, bring hope to people. And even the technology can do more. The next step is really education beyond just the information, how providing education for people engaged with this process continuously. You know, any education takes a period of time of commitment. When you go to high school or college, you know, graduate school, it's a few years of program, so to speak. It's really kind of to applying what they're learning. In this case, it's mind-body, you know, experience. So it has to apply to your own daily life, your own body experience. So it takes time to really embody it. So our job, you know, as you know, healthcare professional practitioners is also empower them, continue whatever you're providing them, to empower them continue in this process as education, as embodiment. You know, one of the challenges like this we call comparison and compliance, yeah, is really about accountability. You know, how to help the person be comfortable for their own process, their own healing, their own responsibility. And I feel the technology can help us greatly as well, because we cannot afford to be around in person all the time.
And the scale of it, you know, I really respect that. You know, one of the things that I've been speaking a lot about recently on different, you know, summits and so forth is how to get the most out of functional medicine at the least possible cost. And so that we have these 3 C's that we talk about before you get to a doctor. The first is content, right? So you put out all the content, Gabe's watching the content for free, getting indoctrinated, getting part of it. The second is community, like finding other people. If Gabe finds another person in his building that does Qigong and they're doing it together, it's valuable for accountability and support. You're obviously building community with what you're doing. And then the third C is sort of coaching, where you have some sort of professional teaching you for a certain period of time. But ultimately, all of these things are at a much lower cost than, you know, the help of a professional who's a doctor or otherwise. So, you know, it fits very well into, you know, to our ideas. So, you know, I guess, look, I really appreciate, you know, taking the time to talk about this. We sort of actively resisted talking too much about energy medicine on all of our platforms for the last 4 years, because our priority at the Evolution of Medicine is really attract doctors from family medicine, primary care, and the specialties, and move them to take the very first step. And this is really not the first step, but ultimately I think that, you know, with the tracking that we're doing, we can see that this is a significant modality to be able to curate for people with chronic disease, particularly when there's a lot of either mental, emotional issues, you know, social issues, and you know, long-standing.
And James, I would say too, you know, doctors are under a ton of stress, and this is what we know. You know, one of the things I've been pushing Mingtong to do is to create some retreats that are just for medical professionals, because I think that, and what we've learned as we develop the Evolution of Medicine community is, you know, doctors and practitioners live in a bubble. They're under a ton of stress. They don't get to spend a lot of time with each other. And our whole existence was based on the fact that James and I started these meetups and these places where doctors could come together and spend time with each other and just realize you're not alone. You know, we got to figure this out together. And they're also having their own health issues. And most people who got into functional or integrative medicine, they have a story, like I have a story. You know, they're passionate for a reason, and they're dealing with health issues. So I really feel like, and Mingtong's moving in this direction, I think they're actually putting together something, but you know, having a place for doctors and medical professionals to get together and work on their own health, but also learning tools that complement their practice. Because I think the idea is that the Qigong, you just do whatever you're doing and do Qigong. You can just add it. And it's complement to anyone's life personally, and then something that a medical professional can easily share and then improve their results, which is what Dr. Pang saw. And then obviously your referrals improve, because one of the things we've talked about on the forum, James, is your patients don't really want to see you. You know, ultimately, they want to get better so that they don't have to see you anymore.
Face their truth, right?
You know, and so, anyway, yeah, I wanted to share that part.
I'm truly, grateful. Even you have this exchange with the functional medicine community, including the last summer, the future of functional medicine. And as a surprise, really, not only we all have the same concern to, providing the best thing for our client patient, but also realizing the healthcare professional, including leaders, they're very, interested in yoga, in meditation, in Qigong. Many of them know Qigong already, here it's beneficial. But it's like really how we can take the next step, really embody that truly, become healthier and happier and more wise being. Then from that place, we can naturally empower others. So the vision, for all of us we're sharing is really about empowering the healthcare professional. So thousands at a time, then we can truly heal millions of others at a time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the vision that we've got, and that's why Gabe and I are doing what we do. We realize that if we can, change the trajectory of a medical practice, it could change the lives of 5, 10, 20,000 people directly, and then millions more indirectly. And then if you have many practices, it can really start to, to go viral. So look, we're here at the Evolution of Medicine. We're super excited to actually not just talk about this, but to start to facilitate it. So if you've been listening to the podcast and you're thinking, I'd like to try some Qigong, try it out, see how it works for me, experience it directly, we're going to make a special offer. Basically, if you go to goevomed.com/Qigong, we're going to give you on there's going to be an article on Qi medicine, and then there's a video called Guided Healing Meditation and an active energy practice that you can do for free. Just start to get into it. We've got a special deal for you if you want to do the online course. Normally it's $87. It's a month-long training. You can upgrade for just $57 and do the same course that Gabe did. And there's also a 3-month course. But also, we'd love to invite you, Gabe and myself and Mingtong and some other pretty prominent people in the functional medicine community are going to be coming to a VIP retreat for health professionals and practitioners that's happening December 3 to 9 in New Mexico. And so, we are going to take our first steps into energy medicine with the evolution of medicine. The cool thing about the name is that medicine is going to continue to evolve, and we can bring it along. But if you go to goevomed.com/Qigong, you can get enrolled in the first course. And if you want to come down to New Mexico and hang with the 3 of us, you're more than welcome. So, hey, I want to say thank you, Mingtong, not only for sharing this and the the relationship with Gabe. I think it's going to make a big difference to a lot of people as the ripple effects come out from this and where we're going next with the evolution of medicine. But also just this technology connection here. If we had an unlimited number of doctors really putting it out there and communicating in this way, we've got to find these hooks. Different people are going to have different hooks. They're going to have different moments in their lives where they're ready to hear these kind of things. There's going to be different messages. Those messages may say the same things but look different. And we're going to need an army of these people going out and using the technology
like that.
this right now. And so I hope that for some people this has really resonated. I know for other people there'll be other people that resonate. But if you're listening to this as well as a practitioner, you need to get your message out there. That's why we created the Practice Accelerator, the website stuff that we're making. It's all about making it easy for you to go out, share your message, and transform the health of your community. I think this is an important piece. We're very excited to explore it. And thanks for facilitating today and showing up the way that you do in the world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see you again in person soon.
Absolutely. Well, this has been the Evolution of Medicine podcast. I'm your host, James Maskell. Go to goevomed.com/Qigong to find out more about Mingtong, take some of the trainings and try some Qigong. But for me, from my partner, Gabe, and from Mingtong, all coming from you from different places, it's been great to have you here on the podcast. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.